Good morning, everybody. It's Barbara, and I am happy to share this week's Sunday school lesson for Unity Church of Austin. So we are going to be wrapping up our, this is the last lesson about how we behave. And let's get started. Let's just start with our affirmation. The affirmation is, what I believe in my heart is what I show in my actions. What I believe in my heart is what I show in my actions. And one more time, what I believe in my heart is what I show in my actions. So in the last few lessons, we've talked about examples of people behaving in ways that are based on their beliefs in compassion and trust, in love, and in respect. Today, we're going to talk about young people who believed in generosity and put their belief in generosity into action by helping other people. So let's start out with a couple of warm-up questions. Do you know what it means to be generous? I wish we were in class right now and I could hear you, sharing your ideas. But do you know what it means to be generous? Here is the answer our book gives us. It means to share what we have to benefit someone else. So to share what we have to do good, to bring good for someone else. How old do you think you have to be generous? I gave it away already a little bit in the beginning. All of us can be generous. You don't have to be a grown-up to be generous, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. There are a few other questions. This part is kind of fun, a little bit like a quiz, which is weird for the summer, but nobody's taking any, and nobody's recording a grade for it. So give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, depending on what you think the answer is, whether or not you think that the statement that I read is correct. There are lots of ways to share. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Let me go with thumbs up. You don't have to be an adult to be generous. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Only rich people have enough money to give gifts. Thumbs up or thumbs down? No. Kids can't really make a big difference in the world. Thumbs up or down? Down. It feels good to give. Thumbs up or down? Yeah. So let's dive into we have like 3 stories today. They're all short and they're all really interesting. So we're going to learn about 3 different kids or sets of kids who did something generous. So the first one is about Robbie and Brittany Bergquist. Robbie Bergquist, age 12, and his sister Brittany, age 13, were having breakfast one morning when they heard a news story about a soldier who racked up an $8,000 cell phone bill by calling his family from Iraq. They thought, that's not right. The troops have to pay for their own calls home. Didn't they have a right to call home? Robbie and Brittany had a cousin in Iraq, and they knew how worried their parents were when they hadn't heard from him in a while. Right then, they decided to help pay the soldier's phone bill. They ran up to their bedrooms, pulled the plugs out of their piggy banks, ran back downstairs, and threw $14 on the table. At school, they collected another $7 from their friends. When they brought the $21 to the bank to start an account, the bank manager was so impressed that he added an additional $500. This encouraged Robbie and Brittany to keep raising money. The kids held car washes and bake sales, but eventually decided to recycle old used cell phones and buy phone minutes. Then they sent the phones to soldiers who could call home for free. News stations did stories about Robbie and Brittany, and soon the project skyrocketed. Brittany said, thousands of people wanted to support the troops, but they never had a way to do it. Soon, cell phones filled their garage, blocked their front hall, and surrounded the piano in their living room. Every day after school, they'd have phone messages and emails waiting for them. Working on their project every free moment, they missed school dances, games, and parties. Even though it was hard sometimes, Robbie said, "This is our fun." A charitable organization called Cell Phones for Soldiers. We ability Brittany appreciate what we're doing. That's what asks us to do more. They get able to stay connected to these. Robbie appreciates all that his parents have done to help them. We have the perfect family to start a program like this, he said, the most supportive parents. By 2012, Cell Phones for Soldiers had provided more than 150 million minutes of free calls to soldiers and had recycled nearly 10 million cell phones. Word right, so I'm going to read that again. By 2012, Cell Phones for Soldiers had provided more than 150 million minutes of free calls to soldiers and had recycled nearly 10 million cell phones. That's a lot. Robbie and Brittany aren't teenagers anymore, but they are still helping soldiers. So a few discussion questions. Who do you like to call on the phone? Let's see, I call my mom. Sometimes I call my husband, and sometimes I call my kiddos if they're not with me. I call my friends. Who do you like to get a call from? I think all those same people for me. Do you think that Robbie and Brittany had fun finding ways to be generous? It sounded like it, didn't it? They said, this is our fun. They missed out on like school events, like fun school events, but seems like they really enjoyed getting to do these good works. Okay, next story. Zach Bonner. When Zachary Bonner was 6 years old, a hurricane hit Florida and left many people without any water. Zach's neighborhood in Valrico, Florida, had plenty of water, so he decided to help. Zach was inspired by Peace Pilgrim, which we will learn about in a later unit. Going door to door with his little red wagon, Zach collected water bottles for people in need. By the time he was finished, he had collected 27 truckloads of water bottles. After that experience, Zach realized how good it felt to help people, so he just kept doing it. Along with help from others, Zach started an organization to help homeless children called Little Red Wagon Foundation. There are now volunteers from all over the US. When he was 10, Zach decided to do a charity march. He called it My House to the White House and did it in 3 stages. At first, Zach's mother thought he was too young for such a big project, but he knew he would finish anything he started. But she knew he would finish anything he started. So she said, okay. Zach likes to do charity work, she said. This is what he wants to do. In stage 1, he walked from Tampa to Tallahassee, Florida. In stage 2, he walked from Tallahassee to Atlanta, Georgia. And in stage 3, he walked from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. That's a total of almost 2,000 miles. Zach said, if you have love in your heart, then you have to use it. It takes a lot of hard work, but it's a lot of fun. He gave the money he raised to homeless shelters for kids in Tampa and Washington, D.C. Kids need a safe place to sleep, Zach said. In 2010, when Zach was 13, he walked across America from Tampa to Los Angeles. It took him from March to September. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, 7 months. When asked if it was hard to do, Zach said, when you're having a bad day, you have to realize that someone else is having a lot worse of a day than you. Zach says that his plan is to keep helping as many kids as he can, have fun, and keep it simple. After collecting, so here's our discussion questions. After collecting bottles, why did Zach keep helping others? My guess is that he figured out that he could make a difference with, with his work. And I think that it sounds like he really enjoyed it. And why did Zach want to help others? What do you think? I think it's because he figured out that he could make a difference, and that he received good back for himself. He realized that he actually enjoyed doing this work that was making a difference in other people's lives, that he could do something. That's my guess. Third story, Roja. Some projects like Robbie's, Brittany's, and Zach's get a lot of attention. They appeared on TV and in magazines. But there are children helping others every day who never get a lot of attention, but feel good about generously giving whatever they can. Roja is a good example. Roja had a simple birthday at home with her family. They had all contributed a little money to buy her a new winter coat. She thought it was the most beautiful coat she had ever seen. As a special birthday surprise, they took her out for dinner. As they all walked happily back to the car, Roja noticed a little girl on the street. She looked about the same age as Roja, but she was dirty, cold, and alone. Roja's eyes stayed fixed on her as the girl slowly approached the car with her hands stretched out as if asking for something. Roja, her brothers, and parents searched the car for some fruit or something healthy to give to the little girl, but on that day they had nothing. Roja noticed the girl's runny nose and kindly offered her a tissue. The little girl walked away, wiping her nose and her tears. Roja sat silent and then said to her mother, Mommy, Mommy, that little girl is sick because she is cold. May I give her my new coat, please? Her mother said, if that is what you want to do, of course you may. Roja jumped out of the car and ran toward the little girl, taking off her coat as she went. She wrapped the coat around the girl's shoulders and came back to the car. Roja smiled and began to shiver. Her younger brother Kamal, who noticed that Roja was cold, took off his coat and wrapped it kindly around her shoulders. So that story is taken from a book called Virtues in Action on Generosity by the Children's Virtues Development Project. So why do you think she smiled? Why do you think Roja smiled? This story is making me tear up, but I think that she smiled because she realized that she had done something so profoundly good for somebody else, something that would make a really big difference for another person. And how does this story show that giving is contagious? It spreads to others.
Any guesses? I think it's when Roja's brother realized that she was cold since she had given her coat away, and he took his own coat off and wrapped it around his sister. So it is contagious, right?
Okay, so our wrap-up questions about these two stories. How old were the children in these stories? I'll just let you know. They were between 6 and 13 years old. So I bet a lot of you listening to this recording are in that same range or close to it, right? Jesus taught about giving to the poor and being generous. He told a rich man to give away all his possessions so that he could be free. Do you think that we can feel more free and joyful when we give? We're gonna do an exercise in a few minutes, and maybe we can test that one out. Maybe you can test that one out in the next week or so to come. And the last question, even though the actions the children did were different, what is similar about their stories? Here are some ideas that the materials give us. The kids all saw a need and thought of a way to meet that need. They didn't have a lot of money to start with. They didn't do it alone. Their parents and others in the community helped them. And I think maybe the biggest, most important one is being generous made them feel really happy. That's why they kept doing it. So one thing to mention is that, you noticed in here, especially about the stories of Robbie, about the work that Robbie and Brittany and Zach did, they didn't do what they did alone. They needed the help of adults. And in some cases, organizations like the bank in the first example. But what's really, really important is that it was the kids' ideas and enthusiasm that got the ball rolling. It was the kids' ideas and excitement that were contagious to the grown-ups and to the organizations in the story. And like it was their idea that generated all this good, all this generosity. So as Zach said, when you combine the wisdom and experience of an adult, with the spirit of a kid, great things can happen. I agree. Okay, I think I was going to do one more thing here before we end. This was the one. So before we wrap up, I want to just ask you to think of what you might be able to do this week to be generous to family and friends. Remember that you're generous when you share your time, your talents, things you're good at, and your feelings. So one of the maybe easiest ways and best ways to be generous is to show kindness, to show happiness, and to show love. If you're showing kindness and happiness and love, you are being generous. So can you think of some ideas for ways that you might be able to be generous to your family and friends this week? The book gives us a few examples, and I'll share them with you. I thought some of them were really good. So one is to surprise a brother or sister by making their bed or doing one of their chores. I think you could do that for a parent too, huh? You could help a parent bring in the groceries. You could draw a special picture and place it on a family member's pillow or mail it to a relative or friend that lives far away. That would really make somebody's day. You could play the hello game and smile by saying hello or nice to see you to as many people as you can in a single day. You can bring plastic bags and gloves with you next time you go to the park to pick up litter and throw it away in the trash can. You can ask a parent to help bake cookies for a neighbor. And you could even bring some of those same cookies to the fire station or police station to thank those workers, those essential people for their service. Or you could sit with someone different at lunch and get to know them. I guess that's probably more of a school year thing, but you could save that one up for when school starts again. So I was really inspired by the stories of young people doing really sweet and generous acts of service. And I hope that you enjoyed the story too. Let's finish with our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. And the presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is. And all is well. So, and I should have mentioned at the beginning, I always say it, but it's still true. Your Unity teachers miss you and think of you often and love you and hope, we all hope that you're doing well, and we are all looking forward to getting to see you in person. So hugs to you, know that you are loved, and we are looking forward to that time when we get to be together again in person. Save up your stories for us because we can't wait to hear them. And the last thing, we will end with our this statement. You ready? Your blessing. Here we go. We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the Christ in you. See you soon. Bye-bye.